Wow, I've never so just smacked against that 10-minute limit so hard. This is part two of the Ultimate Life Cycle, part of the For Organization's Sake series within the ENMU IS 301 course. And you're still in the middle of doing this, and hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more about what's going on. Pick up kind of where I left off, which was trying to set up the thing for the fact that the things that we call antiques here in America are nothing compared to the European sorts, especially the British ones. Like I said, a lot of military people went over to England because that's where kind of the sister base of Canada was at the time. And so a lot of pilots spent time there as well. And while they were there, they would pick up these amazing antiques. Now they would call them antiques because in America, if something's 100 years old, we call it an antique. In Europe, it's not an antique until it's 400, 500, 600 years old. So, and there is an essential difference there. Can I be really honest? In the United States, we don't tend to build things to last. We do not really have a strong craftsperson ethic here. It just never developed. Europe has a very strong one. That's why guilds and unions and stuff like that are so endurant there, is because they actually served a larger purpose of making sure that if you became a carpenter, you were really quite good, and that the stuff you produced was really of an excellent make and excellent quality. Didn't really take here. America's great, amazing thing was in mass production. And let me tell you, we are a nation of salesmen. And so that's where you get the snake oil salesman for, and why there's so much money to be made selling basically snake oil. We actually produce it here too. And we produce a lot of it. And we're always trying to sell it to each other or to other places. And if any, people always say, oh, Chinese stuff, it's cheap, it's junk, it's plastic, it's poorly constructed and poorly made. And you go, you know where the Chinese learned that from? They learned it from us. They just took it to a higher level, which we don't go now. Now we all say, well, we do a better job over here because we don't, and says, no, ours is junk compared to what the Europeans used to do. Although the Europeans are quickly trying to learn our techniques and Chinese manufacturing style. None of us manufacture much anymore. We still do, but not half as much as we used to. And even our pathetic stuff looks great in comparison to some of the stuff coming out of more modern facilities. That's the sad part. Modern really doesn't. Most of the time, I don't even consider it good. It isn't a good appellation to put on something. Wow, this is modern, and you go, oh, I don't want modern. I want something that's been here a few years. So yeah, when these airmen would come back from England and would come to Cannon, to their next spot, and they would come with their container full of these, what we call antiques, but what the Europeans just call new stuff, that's maybe 100, 150, maybe 200 years old. Amazing construction. Then they say, well, here's a chair that's been in our family for 600 years. And you go, you wouldn't even think of that in America, right? The chair I'm sitting in now, it's probably about 10 years old. It's probably about 7 years past the fact that it was any good. It's disgusting. It's half broken, but I hang on to it because I'm cheap. I always will be cheap, and that's just the way it is. At some point, maybe I'll learn how to actually get decent stuff, but someday you'll have to learn how to pay for it. And it costs a ton. Really good stuff costs a lot of money, but it will usually service you for a very long time. Ever had a 600-year-old chair? They are constructed very well by people who know what they're doing. as opposed to the stuff we have today, which is usually knocked together with staples and the cheapest wood you can find, the cheapest materials you can find. But then we talk it up and say how wonderful it is and sell it for far more than what it's worth. Anyway. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I bring that up? The market's dominated by cheap junk, poorly built, poorly with no longevity. And that's what passes for Lifecycle in information systems and technology. It's the same stuff. When you look at the software, it's cheap junk, built poorly with not one eye to longevity. You don't have to worry about it. Chances are nobody uses this feature, so you don't have to do a good job on it. If you don't do a good job on it, you can always try to kind of glom stuff onto it later to try to fix it up a little bit. And it's just garbage. And that's sad. That's a sad state of how it is. Can I say that it would be a different sort of business? But I think businesses can still be run this way. You aren't going to be a mass market person. If you build things right and you do a good job and you get a reputation for building quality stuff, I hate using that term. Quality has been so maligned that anytime anybody says it, I just plug my ears and walk away and say, I don't want to hear about your quality crap. This is true quality. The quality they're talking about is trying to make more money, you know. The goal isn't to make a ton of money usually. Well, this is a business class, right? I need to be careful. It's to go to sleep well at night and say that you've accomplished something well. I'm hoping to do that to some degree in this class. These videos are not indicative of this. I'm the kind of guy that really needs to write things out and read them. And people go, oh, that doesn't look I'm not very impressed by that. And you go, well, I'm not here to try to sell you some snake oil. And that's so much of what we are passed off with. Bunch of snake oil. Our houses are crumbling around us. Our furniture breaks on us on a regular basis. Our food is horrible. It's no wonder we're all pudgy and fat. We don't get enough nutrients in our food, so we have to eat a lot of it to get what we need, and we end up being fat, chunky turkeys. Sorry, home ec coming out. We're just surrounded by sludge, and you want to have, even if you only have a few nice things, you want to have some nice things that are going to last, things that you might be able to pass on to your children. The fact that you want to have children in the first place, the fact that you say, I'm going to put forth the effort required, get married, stuff like that. Put the time and investment into raising a decent child. So these things are all tricky. Well, I'm going to be done here. We're going to stop here. So remember all this stuff. Don't just do things. Don't do an organization just for the organization's sake. That's not the point. When you do that, you get the kind of problems we're trying to solve, and they're mostly manufactured problems. We need to concentrate on the center things. If you're going to do something, try to do a good job of it. Do it right. Instead of being a hack, everything that gets done these days are just basically hacks. Just barely throw it together. Just like these videos, hacks, thrown together. Someday I'll write this stuff up, and then I'll make a recording of me reading this in a somewhat engaging way, and hopefully that'll be a lot better and get across a lot better information. I hope I'm decent as a hack, but I want to do better someday. And I'm gonna at some point. That was the wonder of lectures back in the day. It was pre-prepared and you had it and you could talk about it, and then you could have question and answer after that. That's an engaging way of doing it. Anyway, so that's it for this series and for this video. Have a wonderful day. Please do good software development if you're going to do it. If you're just acquiring it, try to find good stuff. Good luck. You're going to be hard-pressed to find it. Hang in there. Do your best. I wish you well. Bye-bye.